Welcome back to another deep dive with us. Today we're heading back to Gotham City.
Back to Gotham.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're going to be exploring what IMDb users are saying about The Dark Knight Rises, even all these years after it came out.
Wow.
We'll be looking at user reviews and trying to uncover what makes this film so captivating or maybe so infuriating for some people.
You've hit on something interesting right out of the gate.
Really?
The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
The final film in Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy.
Right.
It seems to be a film that people feel very strongly about one way or another.
Yeah, it really is. Like, people either just adore it or they have very specific bones to pick with it.
I think that's fair to say.
So what is it that keeps people talking all these years later? One thing that pops up constantly in these reviews is the comparison to The Dark Knight.
Okay.
So do you think The Dark Knight Rises manages to step out from under its predecessor's shadow?
That's the core tension, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Dark Knight was such a phenomenon.
For sure.
And Heath Ledger's joke
Ugh, so good.
still held up as like the benchmark
Yeah.
for villainous performances.
Definitely.
It's almost inevitable that people are going to hold up. The Dark Knight rises to that standard.
Yeah. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah.
So how does the film handle this comparison?
Interestingly, The Dark Knight Rises leans into that challenge.
Okay.
It doesn't try to replicate the Joker's like chaotic energy at all.
Right.
Instead, it introduces Bane,
Yes.
played by Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
And Bane represents a very different kind of threat.
Okay.
He's very calculated,
Uh-huh.
brutal, and driven by a very specific ideology.
Interesting. And his voice
Oh,
seems to be a pretty big talking point
yeah,
in these reviews.
big time.
Some people find it menacing,
Yeah.
others just downright distracting.
Uh-huh.
What's your take on that creative choice?
It's a bold choice,
Yeah,
and it definitely divides opinion.
for sure.
I think it goes beyond just like clarity of dialogue.
Okay.
Like, you understand what he's saying?
Uh-huh.
It raises these questions about how a villain's voice contributes to their overall impact. Does it need to be easily understood?
Right.
Or can a sense of menace or dread
Yeah.
be achieved through distortion and ambiguity?
Interesting.
Nolan and Hardy clearly opted for the latter.
So it's not just about understanding the words,
No.
it's about how the sound itself makes you feel.
That's it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So that muffled, almost mechanical quality to his voice
Right.
reinforces that image of him as like a force of nature, like
Sure.
something unstoppable.
And almost inhuman.
Adds to the sense of fear and unease
For sure.
that he generates.
Speaking of unease, another common thread I'm seeing here is how The Dark Knight Rises just goes for these weightier themes
Yes.
than your typical superhero flick.
Right.
People are using terms like grounded and realistic to describe the film's approach.
Yeah.
Do you think that's accurate?
I do. I think it was a very deliberate choice by Nolan.
He really grounds the story in this recognizable reality.
Yeah.
Dealing with these huge issues like fear loss and the corruption of power.
Wow.
So it makes the stakes feel much higher.
Right.
And the choices that the characters make are so much more impactful.
So it's not just about saving the day. It's
Yeah.
about the emotional and societal consequences of all these actions.
Precisely.
Okay.
And I think this connects to a broader trend we're seeing in superhero cinema.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
This desire for stories that offer more than just spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
Audiences are craving narratives that resonate with real-world issues and anxieties.
Yeah, for sure.
And they want to explore, like, the complexities of heroism.
So not just black and white, good and bad.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And this depth is reflected in the performances as well.
For sure.
People are consistently just praising this cast.
Yeah.
Highlighting that emotional weight that they bring to their roles.
Absolutely.
Anne Hathaway as Catwoman is a great example.
Yeah.
She manages to capture that character's complexity, balancing sensuality and strength and cunning.
Such a hard balance to strike.
And people found her surprisingly believable.
Yeah.
Especially considering all the different interpretations of Catwoman that we've seen over the years.
Such a tough role to play.
So it's like she took everything we thought we knew about Catwoman
Yeah.
and just made it her own.
Huh.
And she found that perfect balance between the classic femme fatale
Right.
and this modern independent woman.
She really did.
And then you have Michael Caine
Michael Caine.
as Alfred.
Yeah?
He's almost like the heart of the film.
Of the heart.
Yeah.
That moral compass.
Even when he's not physically present.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of these reviewers are calling him the unsung hero.
Uh-huh.
And they point to his emotional depth as like a huge highlight of the film.
It's so true.
There's one review that stands out to me.
Oh, really?
It says that Alfred's performance is notable even in his absence.
Which I think just speaks volumes about his presence in the film.
Yeah.
And Kane's performance underscores another key theme that I'm seeing throughout all of these reviews.
What's that?
This idea of the cost of heroism.
Oh, yeah.
So, Alfred represents that voice of caution.
Right.
This constant reminder that Bruce Wayne's dedication to Batman comes at a huge personal price.
And a societal price.
Yeah. It's a thread that runs through the whole trilogy.
Yeah.
And it really comes to a head in The Dark Knight Rises.
It really does.
Now, we can't talk about The Dark Knight Rises without mentioning its visual grandeur.
It is visually stunning.
It is. People are just praising Nolan's direction and the film's stunning visuals.
Especially those IMAX sequences.
Oh, those IMAX scenes. Amazing. Yeah, but some people felt overwhelmed by the film's scale, and some people found the pacing a little uneven.
Yeah.
How do we reconcile those two contrasting viewpoints?
I think it's the double-edged sword of ambition. Nolan is so committed to scale and spectacle that he creates these breathtaking moments. But it can also lead to a denser, more demanding viewing experience.
Sure.
So some people are going to find that pace exhilarating.
Right.
And others are going to feel like it disrupts the flow.
Interesting. So it's a film that demands your attention.
Absolutely.
It doesn't shy away from challenging the audience.
Nope.
And speaking of enhancing that viewing experience, Hans Zimmer's score is another element that consistently receives praise.
My gosh, one of the best in the business.
What is it about Zimmer's music that just elevates this film?
I think Zimmer has this knack for creating scores that are so much more than just background music.
Okay.
His compositions become part of the emotional fabric of the film.
Interesting.
In The Dark Knight Rises, his score is epic haunting and perfectly matched to the film's themes of loss and sacrifice and ultimately hope.
Yeah, you know, one reviewer specifically said that Zimmer's music lingers in your mind long after the film ends, which is just such a powerful statement.
I think it speaks to how sound can evoke emotion and memory. And Zimmer's music becomes inseparable from the film's imagery and the narrative.
Right.
So it creates an experience that resonates on a much deeper, almost subconscious level.
So we've got a film that's visually stunning, emotionally resonant, and boasts some truly memorable performances.
It does.
But it also seems to be a film that sparks debate.
Yeah.
It challenges viewers to really think critically about its themes and choices.
For sure.
So where do we go from here?
Good question.
Let's delve into some of those specific points of contention.
Okay.
The connections to Batman Begins, for instance, are praised by some reviewers, and others see them as unnecessary callbacks.
Right.
And then, of course, there's that ending.
The ending.
Which has generated endless discussion and debate.
Yeah.
Perfect. Those are some juicy topics we definitely need to unpack.
We do.
But for now, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive deeper into those specific elements and explore what they reveal about The Dark Knight Rises and its lasting impact. So stay tuned.
Ready.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about the impact of The Dark Knight Rises and how it measures up to its predecessor, The Dark Knight.
Right.
One thing that stood out in these reviews was how Nolan kind of weaves in those connections back to Batman Begins.
Yeah.
The first film in the trilogy. Do you think those connections strengthen the film, or do they feel like unnecessary fan service?
It's a fine line.
Yeah.
And I think it really depends on the individual viewer.
Okay.
For those who really appreciate a sense of continuity and like a deeper exploration of the character's journey, those callbacks can add another layer of meaning.
Okay.
Because they can see how Bruce Wayne's past experiences in Batman Begins directly inform his choices in The Dark Knight Rises.
So for those viewers, it's like watching Bruce Wayne come full circle.
Like facing the consequences of decisions he made years earlier.
Right.
And it really deepens our understanding of his motivations. And it makes his ultimate sacrifice even more impactful.
Wow.
But for those less invested in like the overall trilogy, those references might feel a little heavy-handed.
Okay.
Or even distracting.
It's like anything else. Context is key.
Context is key.
Speaking of context, one thing that reviewers consistently point to is how The Dark Knight Rises connects to real-world issues, particularly the Occupy Wall Street movement. That was gaining so much momentum around the time of the film's release.
Yeah.
Did you pick up on those parallels?
Absolutely. Bane's rhetoric about wealth inequality,
Okay.
his trials against Gotham's elite, the imagery of social unrest.
Yeah.
It's all very much in dialogue with the anxieties and frustrations that were bubbling up in society at the time.
It's like Nolan took those real-world tensions and channeled them into this larger-than-life superhero narrative.
That's what makes The Dark Knight Rises so compelling.
Right.
It's not afraid to engage with those difficult questions about power and corruption and the potential for both good and evil within systems.
Interesting.
It asks us to consider who benefits from the status quo and what happens when that system is challenged.
It's definitely a film that makes you think.
Makes you think.
And that's something I saw reflected in a lot of these reviews.
Yeah.
People aren't just talking about the action or the performances. They're dissecting the film's themes and messages.
It elevates it beyond a typical superhero adventure.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a story that resonates on multiple levels.
Yeah.
Inviting viewers to grapple with these complex ideas about justice and sacrifice and the true cost of social change.
Now, beyond the grand themes and then the real-world connections,
a
lot of reviewers also highlighted specific scenes or moments that resonated with them.
Okay.
Were there any particular scenes that stood out in your analysis?
Several reviewers mentioned that opening plane hijack sequence as a real highlight.
Oh, for sure.
It's a masterclass in tension building and a brilliant introduction to Bane as a force of nature.
Right.
It establishes the stakes immediately.
Yeah.
And it sets a tone of relentless intensity that carries throughout the film.
That scene is definitely a grabber.
A grabber.
You're instantly hooked and on the edge of your seat.
You're right there with him.
Yeah. And it's a great example of Nolan's signature style, using those practical effects and stunt work to create that sense of visceral realism.
Exactly. There's a weight and a physicality to the action that you don't always get with CGI-heavy blockbusters.
For sure.
It makes the danger feel more tangible and the stakes much more real.
Yeah, and that realism extends to the emotional core of the film as well.
Definitely.
One reviewer specifically mentioned the scene where Alfred confronts Bruce.
Oh, yeah.
About the toll that Batman has taken on his life.
Right.
It's a quiet, understated scene.
Yeah.
But it packs such a powerful emotional punch.
It does. It speaks to that exploration of the cost of heroism.
Right.
It's not just about physical danger. You know, it's about those emotional sacrifices and the burdens that come with dedicating your life to a cause.
It's a powerful reminder that even superheroes are human. With their own vulnerabilities and limitations.
They are human.
And speaking of powerful moments,
the
Batpod chase sequence is another scene that gets a lot of love from reviewers.
That choice is pure adrenaline-fueled spectacle.
It is.
Visually stunning and expertly paced.
Yes.
It showcases both Batman's resourcefulness and the sheer chaos that Bane unleashes upon Gotham.
It's like you're right there in the middle of the action, dodging explosions, holding your breath as Batman weaves through those city streets.
But it's not just about the spectacle.
Okay.
That chase scene serves a narrative purpose as well. It's a turning point in the film where Batman realizes the scale of the threat he's facing and the sacrifices he'll need to make to stop Bane.
Speaking of turning points, I think it's time we address the elephant in the room.
The ending.
The ending of The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the most discussed and debated aspects of the film.
Definitely.
Some find it satisfying, others ambiguous and frustrating.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how Nolan wraps up this epic trilogy?
The ending is definitely polarizing.
Okay.
And I think that's a testament to Nolan's willingness to challenge audience expectations.
Right.
He doesn't offer this neat and tidy resolution.
Yeah.
He leaves us with questions and a sense of hope that's tinged with uncertainty.
It's like he's inviting us to fill in the blanks. To imagine what becomes of these characters. And the city they fought so hard to protect.
And that open-endedness is what fuels so much of the discussion and debate surrounding the film.
Right.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even in victory, there are consequences and sacrifices. And the future, even for a hero like Batman, is never fully certain.
So it's not just about wrapping up the story. It's about prompting reflection and conversation about what heroism truly means and the lasting impact of choices made in the face of adversity.
Precisely. And that's what makes The Dark Knight Rises more than just a superhero film.
Okay.
It's a story that lingers in your mind.
Right.
It prompts us to consider our own roles in shaping the world around us. and the legacies we leave behind.
We've covered a lot of ground here, but there's still so much to unpack.
There is.
We've talked about the grand themes, the memorable performances, the spectacular action, and that ambiguous ending. But what about the nitty-gritty details, those subtle nods to the comics, or the criticisms that pop up in these reviews?
Oh, yeah.
We'll explore all of that and more when we return for the final part of our deep dive.
I can't wait.
Don't go anywhere. And we're back for the final act of our Dark Knight Rises deep dive.
The final act.
We've talked about the big picture stuff, the themes, the action, the emotional core.
Yeah.
But let's zoom in on some of those finer details.
Okay.
A lot of the reviewers pointed out those little nods to the comics, those Easter eggs that reward the diehard fans.
Yeah.
Did you catch any of those?
Oh, absolutely. Nolan's films are layered with these subtle references, these little winks to the source material.
Oh, okay.
For instance, one reviewer noticed a visual callback to a specific panel from Nightfall.
Okay.
The comic storyline that inspired Bane's role in the film.
Okay, yeah.
It's a blink and you'll miss it detail. But for those in the know, it adds a whole other level of appreciation.
It's like a secret handshake for the true fans.
Right.
But I'm curious, do those references ever feel forced or distracting? Like they're just there for the sake of fan service?
I think Nolan is really smart about it.
Okay.
He weaves those references organically into the narrative.
Okay.
So they enhance the story rather than detract from it.
Okay.
It's a way of paying homage to the source material while still creating a unique cinematic experience.
It's like he's saying, I respect the comics, but I'm also going to make this my own.
Exactly.
Now, no film is perfect, and The Dark Knight Rises has its share of criticisms.
Of course.
Some reviewers found the pacing a little uneven, particularly in the first half.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it goes back to Nolan's commitment to realism.
Okay.
He's not afraid to let the story breathe.
Right.
To take his time setting up the characters and the world. But that deliberate pace can feel jarring to some viewers.
Okay.
Who are used to a faster, more action-packed style of superhero film.
It's like he's asking the audience to trust him,
right,
to be patient, and to let the tension build gradually.
Yeah.
But I can see how that could be frustrating for some viewers.
Definitely.
Another criticism that popped up was the complexity of the plot.
Yeah.
Some people felt it was a bit too convoluted, relying on coincidences or convenient twists to move things along. Do you think that's a valid critique?
It's a valid point.
Yeah.
With a story of this scope, with so many moving parts, it's really challenging to maintain perfect plausibility.
Yeah.
And there are moments in The Dark Knight Rises where the plot mechanics feel a bit strained.
It's like that moment in the film where Bruce is able to escape from the prison pit.
Yeah.
Without any, like, visible means of support.
Right. It's a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
But it does require a bit of a leap of faith from the audience.
But isn't that part of the fun of watching a film like this? Debating those moments?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out if it all holds together? It's certainly a film that sparks conversation.
Absolutely. And that's what makes The Dark Knight Rises such a fascinating subject for a deep dive.
Right.
It's a film that operates on multiple levels, rewarding repeat viewings.
Okay.
And inviting analysis and interpretation.
So after all this discussion, after delving into these reviews and the themes and the details, what's the lasting impact of The Dark Knight Rises?
That's the big question.
Why should people care about this film even all these years after it came out?
What strikes me is that The Dark Knight Rises is so much more than just a superhero film.
Yeah, okay.
It's a reflection of its time, capturing the anxieties and the hopes of a society grappling with these complex issues.
Yeah.
It's a story about facing our fears, overcoming adversity, and finding the courage to fight for what we believe in.
It's a film that asks those big questions about who we are and what we stand for, both as individuals and as a society.
And it does so in a way that is both entertaining and thought-provoking. It's a film that stays with you, makes you think, it makes you feel.
Right.
And in a world that is just saturated with superhero content, that is a rare and valuable achievement.
So to wrap things up, The Dark Knight Rises is a film that defies easy categorization. It's a superhero epic, it's a psychological thriller, it's a social commentary, and ultimately it's a story about the human spirit's resilience.
It's all of those things.
It's a film that demands to be seen, discussed, and debated.
It really does.
And it's a film that reminds us that even in the darkest of times, hope can emerge, and even ordinary people can rise to extraordinary challenges.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And for our listeners, I hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity to revisit The Dark Knight Rises, or perhaps even to see it for the first time.
Yeah.
It's a film that offers something for everyone.
It does.
And it's a story that continues to resonate long after the credits roll.
Definitely.
So until next time, happy viewing.